right, y'all. Welcome to the Champions Chamber. We're about to get busy.
Let's
Yes,
get
sir.
it.
All right, so welcome. Today is a Tuesday, it's March 28th, and we're all here together.
Yep. I don't know if you had a topic to talk about, Namdi.
So, before this podcast started, we all did a little pre-discussion for about 10 to 15 minutes. Most of it had to do with wokeness, so I kind of want to contribute or attribute wokeness into this podcast as well as the religion Islam. And to talk about Islam and and I want Med to talk about it because he himself is Muslim, and so I think it's best for him to really explain the misconceptions people have regarding the Islam religion and why it's not liked by a lot of Westerners, right? Even though that they hold better values than a lot of the religions in the West, anyway. So yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just like on the grand scheme of things, the name Islam is, it translates to peace. So it's like just the idea of everything. It just comes back to peace. This makes me think of when Josh was talking about how he wants to get back to peace. I'm like, okay, Josh, you might want to look into Islam, look into the faith. But no, like there are a lot of misconceptions about Islam and Muslims everywhere and how we're all perceived as terrorists. This is what we talked about just before the podcast, and it all stems back to 9/11. Al Qaeda and the Middle East, all that war stuff. You hear jihad. It's like, okay, holy war. They're still doing holy war. It's a lot of things that have been misrepresented by a small group of people to make the the larger group of people look, wrong or put them in a bad light. So like how you said, and I've heard it from other people too, like even ever since I got back from Africa in 2013, like I'll constantly be asked like, "Oh, you're Muslim?" Because my name's Ahmed, so it's like, "Oh, you're Muslim?" Da da da. So they start looking at me kind of sideways. It's like, you gonna do something like you say Allahu Akbar and you gonna blow up. I'm like, no, that just means, all praise to God. Like, what do you mean I'm gonna blow up when saying that? So there, like, like we discussed, there are a lot of misconceptions, and it just takes time to. I mean, there has been a lot of good things that have been done since 9/11. People are a little bit more lax when it comes to Islam and jihad and all that stuff because ISIS hasn't been like a thing since what 2018. When was the last time we heard of like a bombing or
I don't know.
I've not necessarily have looked into all that stuff, but some of it could be swept under the rug. So
yeah,
possibly.
yeah, that is true though because there is stuff still going on in the Middle East and all that. But yeah, I mean, just getting back to the idea of like being a Muslim is just about being peaceful and being disciplined. Like a lot of things that come under being a Muslim is the five pillars. So it's like you pray your 5 times a day. I've been slacking. I need to get back on that for real. Um, what is it? It's five pillars. I haven't discussed this in a while, so it's gonna give me a second. You have to go to Mecca. Perform your pilgrimage. What's the third one? Uh, Zakat. So that's giving charity if you can.
Mhm.
Uh, The fourth one is perform a wudu, so like being clean, like your cleanliness, and that comes under like why we don't eat, pork and why we,
Right.
shower after sex and all these different things. And then there's a fifth one, but it's escaping me right now. But I mean, the whole idea of like being a Muslim is being calm, peaceful, and trying to push God's energy to other people. and have them follow, you know, a positive path. I mean, do you guys have any questions? I feel like it's better if you guys ask me questions so then I
Yeah.
have like a
I have a
precise
question
one.
real quick.
Mhm.
So obviously, I don't know that much regarding with Islam and Muslim culture or religion, but as far as I know, y'all are very disciplined in a sense or consistent regarding with your faith. And that's something that I always, you know, looked at. No matter what, no matter like you see it, they always go to what is it? The mosque. Always in the special
Mhm.
holidays. And a lot of times with Christianity and Catholics, um, a lot of people just skip and don't worry about it and just forget about it, you know? Don't don't have
Yeah.
that initial urge to go to praise. So I guess my question is like, how is it so embedded for y'all to be so consistent and disciplined and I guess faithful towards Allah?
Mhm. Uh, so I'm gonna start from a personal basis. So like for me right now, it's a bit hard to, you know, try and go to the mosque on my Fridays because it's like I don't have any other Muslims around. There's no mosque around here. But if I were to be at home where I have my brother who's a way more faithful Muslim than I am, he's gonna encourage me to, you know, go to the mosque. So it's like, okay, we're gonna go do something positive together. So you're more inclined to go do it. So back to last weekend where we discussed Turkey and how they uh say the adhan or say call for prayer at the different times of the day. So like just hearing that the idea that they have actual microphones are able to send a sound out to call for prayer that sends out miles wide and just a multitude of they call for prayer out in, you know, out in public. So it's like people are more inclined to go out, you know, and pray rather than, you know, the United States. Everybody here is Christian, which is kind of confusing to me because it's like everybody here is Christian, but nobody's like bringing other people to come pray at the church, like on a consistent basis. Like, hey, come on, let's go pray. And it's almost like seen as a negative if you ask somebody to come to church with you. Like people are like afraid of offending other people by going to praise God. So I don't know, in a way, it kind of makes you feel, you know, weird or like I don't understand why you wouldn't want to just go. I mean, it's early in the morning. But you just spend an hour out of your whole week and dedicate that to God.
Interesting. I kind of want to make a side note and then I'll turn that into a question. But
Mm,
I think the reason why a lot of people find offense is whenever someone asks to go and take them to church and whatnot, is because you will always see at like some sort of plaza center, you'll see some guy in the corner who has a sign saying "End is near," Revelation, um, you know, purify your sins, purify yourself, and he has a little speaker and a microphone, and he's yelling, yelling, yelling this and that, saying this, voluntarily giving people cards they don't want. So I think that's just that kind of ties in into a factor of why Christianity is pretty much looked down upon is because you have people who are in the corners of plazas yelling at the top of their lungs, telling everybody around them that everybody's going to go to hell, and it's like it gives you that negative taste, it gives you that sour taste in your mouth, right? But if you go to some Muslim, some Islam-based country, they're not going to be doing that. They're going to have the megaphone, and the dude's going to be praying, which is okay because it's like twice a day or something. But it's not, you're not going to have people who are annoying people and going up to people saying, "Hey, are you a holy person? Are you this and that?" No.
yeah,
And so the question I want to lead into as well is that regarding, is it Satan?
you can say it like that or shaitan, like
Satan.
with it S8. Yeah.
Okay, essay. So, in what relations would you what relations and differences do you typically see, or relations and differences that you've heard between Satan and Allah and Satan and God?
Uh, for me personally, I do see the stories are a bit different for each side, and that's for a lot of facets for each religion. But all in all, they're practically the same. Like when it comes to that relationship between, God. And for me to say, God and Satan and Allah and Shaitan would be redundant. This is what I mean by they're the same. Because it's
Right.
like, the way the Christian God is, well, our interpretation would be the Christian God would be, Allah, right? And then
Hmm.
you guys can correct me, in Christianity, you guys would refer to God as Jesus. So
Yes,
for
it's like the
Yeah.
son of
us,
God.
The Son of God, right?
Yeah, the son of God,
right?
Jesus, in Catholicism or
But at the
Christianity.
same time, he is the Son of God
Right.
whilst being God.
Yeah.
And then for us, we separate the two and we make it to where Allah is, is God, and then Jesus is a prophet, which is a messenger of God, and then that would be that relationship. So I guess
Interesting.
that would be that one major difference in how you guys refer to Jesus as God rather than having God as one entity and Jesus as a human, as a prophet.
Very interesting. It's an interesting take on that, and Jesus being deemed as the Son of God, coming down to earth to relieve all the sins of the world, which is pretty much, I guess, the summarized, not necessarily the summarized headline, but a headline that you would put on an article, I guess, to describe
Mm,
Christianity as a whole. But
yeah.
it's a very interesting take. It's a very interesting take, and especially analyzing both religions, the differences in the relations, how it's surprising because I didn't know that the Islam religion see Jesus as a prophet, you know, and it does truly make sense, and because he's out spreading the word of God and helping people out, performing miracles, etc. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's just, and then the idea of him, um, dying on the cross for our sins. And I understand that's, it's noble. It's something that is good to hear. It's like, oh, he made a sacrifice for us. But all in all actuality, is like, and this is my understanding of it. It's like, if God is an all-powerful being, I don't think he necessarily needs to sacrifice another being to forgive you of your sins.
Interesting.
So like, that's the way I have, thought about it, because of the way that we view God in Islam is that he's, one of his names is just merciful. Like, he is merciful. So
Right.
it's like, regardless of, not regardless, but it's like he wouldn't need another entity to die in order to save somebody else, because he could already do that saving. And yeah, that's just how I, logically thought about it. It was like, okay, that for me that makes sense, and how I go about that idea.
It's
And then
interesting.
even the idea, mhm,
It's an interesting take.
yeah, uh, and then the idea that, or I'm pretty sure this is how we see it. I don't want to feed you guys the wrong knowledge, but the way that we see Jesus and how he died on the cross is that he didn't really die on the cross. So it was, I talked to Josh about this the other day or a couple weeks ago. It was the guy who framed him for the misdeed, for him to be put on crucifixion. He was switched with Jesus's body, but nobody else could tell. Like, it was like almost like a visual illusion. So everybody saw Jesus, but it was actually, what was his name? Judas? Or
Yeah, Judas.
yeah, it was actually him. It wasn't Jesus who
Interesting.
had died. Yeah. I had to, go back and reread the stuff or re-watch the videos and get catch back up on the stories, but I'm pretty sure that's how we understand that situation.
Interesting. And it
Yeah.
kind of ties in. That's very interesting. I never really. That's a cool take. I guess we're gonna have to explore that in the future and make that a topic to talk about because there's definitely a lot to talk about regarding Christianity and the Bible and how people have said that the Bible kind of contradicts itself. There's a lot of discrepancies, misconceptions, etc.
Yeah.
And like
And
there are certain verses that contradict themselves, which is very
mhm,
odd. So I mean, especially if it's in the New Testament. So I mean, it's definitely something to explore. but in a sense to just be introspective, not in a sense to just bring down the Christian religion, because it's always good to just question things, because as we question things and become more curious, we will understand a lot more instead of just
Mhm.
blindly complying. Because when you blindly comply,
Exactly.
you don't learn shit. If you question
Mhm.
and are curious about things, you will learn anything that the world has to offer to you, right?
Exactly.
And so that kind of ties in with wokeness, which was the
I
next topic
was,
that I wanted to talk
yeah, I
about.
was about to just say that
Yeah.
right now. I was like, hey,
Bitch.
kind of,
Yeah.
if
That
you
was
fall into
perfect.
that rabbit hole right
Oh
there, then you're just
God.
gonna be lost.
So
And low key for me though, that idea of wokeness is how I even got like I made a more uh direct decision in like what I wanted to follow. So it's like I did a whole bunch of, research into Judaism and Catholicism and Islam. So I just wanted to see like what were the different facets and how did they look like and what did they talk about? And a lot of the stuff that I found out is like, oh, I don't even want to talk about it to you guys because it's gonna make me seem like I'm crazy or something.
mm,
So it's like there's a whole bunch of information that you have to be careful with because if you go about it the wrong way, you will lose sight for real. Like you will go kind of crazy. And it's almost like even forbidden in Islam to kind of like over deep dive into something that's like super esoteric or like mystical, because then it's gonna lead you further away from God, depending
interesting.
on how you go about it and what you research. Like in Judaism, you won't be practicing the mystics of Kabbalah until you're like 40 or 45, I think. And that's like when you're mature, like that's when you're able to fully accept and receive the knowledge without mistreating it, I think. So there's levels to it, bro. You can't just dive off on one end and then think you're gonna be smooth. You gotta take your time.
I agree.
And just a quick little side note, the way you were talking about how you know so much things that you can't talk publicly or say publicly to, I guess, the ordinary man, person, whoever, because then you'll be looked at a certain way.
Yeah.
Ties back to the what I read in the 48 Laws of Power. And it's Law 38. It says, think as you like, but behave like others.
Yeah, that
If
was
you
big.
make if you make a show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. They will find a way to push you for making them feel inferior. It is far safer to blend in and nurture the common touch. Share your originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness.
It's
That
interesting.
was big.
Because, I was kind of thinking about it right now too. Sometimes you see these people who are woke and they seem, crazy. Like, it's like how I don't know how you said, I don't know if you said it right now, but with people at the malls or a plaza or something, very Christian heavy, having the proverbs and the
They
end
got
is
the
near with
Yeah.
the microphone screaming. To an extent, they're woke, and it's like we see them and we're like, whoa, like easy, calm down.
Yeah.
This is
relax.
It's invalidating what they're saying.
so that's the main thing regarding with being woke. You gotta subdue it to an extent where you're able to know it yourself and probably the people you trust, but not openly to public just because it's not conventional as the book says.
Yeah. My only thing with that rule, because for me personally, like when I exact that rule, like I almost form a cognitive dissonance. So it's
Yeah,
like my actions will kind of almost not align with what I actually want to think
that's what I was
about
thinking, bro.
because of how often I'll be around other people that don't think the way I think.
That's what I was thinking.
It's very weird.
It's a double-edged sword, I would assume, right? Like
Yeah,
behaving like others, but of course thinking for yourself. You're still thinking for yourself, but I feel like if you're consciously in the know that your behavior that you're enacting in the given circumstance, in the given setting, obviously isn't going to be tied with your thoughts. It's simply to appease the masses. It's simply to
yeah,
just blend in to appease the masses so that you're not targeted. Such as Tate. Tate was the first person who came to mind when you were reading that, because he came into the scene. He was already on YouTube and shit a long time ago, but when he started to blow up, people started to find old videos of him talking about crazy fucking stuff. And that's just started to come to the surface. And that's how news articles got his name. That's how they started posting him in this light of misogyny, all this type of stuff. And it's like, it's true. If you pull up with this unconventional wisdom, this unconventional thought process, and instead of talking about it with your friends and loved ones and trusted ones, you talk about it with the whole world, and now you find yourself in a Romanian jail, you know, for the past 80 days.
yeah. Having to fight back against society.
It's odd. It's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah,
but that's why there's outcasts. I mean, a lot of people they can't
Raya's.
really control how
but at
they
the
give
same
out
time,
information.
the book did say it to people you can only trust. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're not necessarily, to an extent, confining your thoughts at the moment. You just haven't found a group to basically express it and grow with that.
yeah. That's
And obviously,
mhm.
you could basically find people like that. You just gotta know how to say the right questions at the right time and word it in a way where it's not forward,
Yeah, like you
but it
drop
isn't.
hints.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Isn't
we've
it
been dropping.
possible? Isn't it possible for a group of people to find you as you're speaking that word? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say they're attracted to what you're saying because you're saying it out loud, and they say, like, yo, bro, I fuck with what you're saying. I fuck with what you're preaching. Let's talk later, or let's have a coffee tomorrow, or let's go to dinner tonight and just like, just have a conversation, you
Yeah,
know?
that's definitely possible. Like I've done that before. I've met people that
same,
think
same
the
here.
same as me. It's just that in most cases, like me and Josh can tell you, it's like we'll say something about what we see on TV, and then the group of friends that we're sharing with, they're kind of like they won't see it how we see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, why are they putting all this stuff on the TV? Man, it's gonna mess up my mind. Nah, bro, you should just move. Like I don't know what you're talking about. They kind of don't pick up on it. So it's once you put it out there, they have to pick up on it and be attracted to what you're saying. And that's
Interesting.
that's rare. That's rare.
Yeah, I think it's all about the frequency you're on. If you're tuned into the channel of Barbie dolls and rainbow sun signs, you're not going to hear what's going on the info channel. If you tune into whatever radio channel you're tuned in on, whatever frequency you're tuned in on, that's what you're going to hear. So they literally will pass by people's heads if you walk around and say, I don't know, turtles are gay or they're turning the frogs gay, whatever you're saying with that. Then that was crazy. And people were, what? What the heck? What is he even talking about? But certain people tuning in that frequency will understand, oh, he means this, but it depends on what type of frequency you're on. I do have a question though. I was gonna say, so for I feel like a lot of people might want to fast, even though they're not Muslim, they might still want to fast for discipline reasons and reasons to maybe lose weight or something. What would you recommend to those people on being able to start? It's a difficult process. So how would you recommend they would start fasting if they want to start?
You should have asked me this when I was like 10 or something. Because now I just jump into it and just say, screw it, I gotta not eat now. But no, yeah, I would treat it as if you're a child. Like, if you want to get into fasting, I would just treat it as if you're a child. So it's like at age 10, or like, I think for me, I started when I was like 8. And what I did was I only fasted for like half the day. So I would wake up at the prayer time, like, or the 5:30. And then I think I'd eat at like maybe 2, just to,
Okay.
that's how they kind of trained us. The training wheels. That's what it was. And then when I hit 10, going on to 11, that's when they had us fasting like the whole day. Like you didn't have to do it, but you could miss a couple days and then fast a couple more days and then miss one day. And, it's a little
Okay.
bit more lenient because you're a child. So I'll just treat it as if you're a child. So maybe the first day before you go fast for real, maybe fast, like I said, on training wheels. So maybe you wake up at 5:30 or whatever you wake up at, and you decide to do a 12-hour fast. So just do that for 12 hours. And then if you want to incorporate your water and just not eat food, then go ahead and do that. Because if you're not doing it for Ramadan, then you can kind of set your parameters. But like I said, you could drink your water, or you can just decide to abstain from water and food and only go for 12 hours. And then when you feel more comfortable, you start to add on more time. So kind of guide your way into fasting. If you're doing it for Ramadan and you're a Muslim or a young Muslim and you're trying to, I guess, not psych yourself out into fasting or not fasting, just try to keep all the food away from you, like at all times. When people are eating, move away. Don't let people try and misguide you, saying, "No, bro, hey, eat this," or they joke around, trying to joke around, say, "Hey, eat this and eat that." And I'm talking about the Muslims that are watching. Like, if they're cracking jokes, don't play around with it. Uh, because it's not a joke. It's something for your faith. It's something that you're taking seriously. So you should take it very seriously, and it's not a joking matter. And if you decide that you want to fast for Ramadan and you're fasting for God, and you decide to make that sacrifice, you have to be all 10 toes. Like you can't play around.
Right.
And I would say
So,
like, mhm.
or you keep going. I'll ask you when you're done.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say if you're doing it for Ramadan, just get started. That's that day you decide to start because it's already started. If tomorrow's the day you want to start, 100% stay focused.
And the question I was gonna ask, I know there's a lot of people that don't know too in depth what Ramadan is. If you could
Mhm.
explain, what it is and why, especially in the Muslim culture, is s- done in a month, right? The whole month,
Yeah. hmm
and the whole reason because of Ramadan. Like, what is Ramadan?
So Ramadan is a month in the Islamic calendar. We go off the lunar calendar. It's a whole month where we abstain from food and water uh, for God, essentially. So this is almost like a way to get closer to your faith, get closer to God, uh, your discipline, yeah, upcharge your discipline. And this is a way for you to gain how I was taught as a kid is for you to gain good deeds and clean off your bad deeds. So
Mm,
mhm. It's hasanat and something else. But I want to emphasize more on the last 2 parts because that's how I kind of quantify how well I'm doing in my head, like for God, essentially. So for my good deeds, it's like, oh, if I pray, then I get 1,000 good deeds. But since I'm fasting while I'm praying, I get 5 times that, you know. And then and then while I'm praying, the bad deeds that I have on my left shoulder are being wiped away. And every second that I'm fasting, all my sins are being wiped away one by one. So that's how I see it. It's a way for me to get a clean slate and share my passage into heaven.
okay.
Yeah.
And I know, I know some people that are Muslim, and I don't know if at the moment they are fasting or not. But growing up here in the U.S., I do believe it's harder for y'all to, continue doing your traditional religion or like the Muslim religion, right? Because I know some people that, you know, aren't true to what the whole Quran says. and do things that are not necessarily faithful in a sense. So, what do you think is a big shift when Muslim people come here to the US and just kind of just let it go in a sense?
Uh, by let it go, do you mean like,
Not be as disciplined, I guess, or religious.
okay, so the way that me and my brother, we've had this conversation before, and the answer that he told me, which I've been running with, is that that's just our dunya of today. Our dunya means our earth. This is our world right now. And it's like, I mean, a lot of people have been saying that the times is, it's near. Things are shifting. I saw this weird stuff. This is more mystical, but it was talking about, the age of Aquarius and the switching from one age to another age. And that that's our world right now. This is the way that people are acting. That's how it's supposed to be. So look at the United States, for example. This is our world right now, right? It's a lot of debauchery. It's a lot of, indulgence in the wrong things. There's a lot of satanic things being displayed, casually, you know? So what else can you expect in the land of sin? People are going to sin more.
Yeah.
You're gonna come from your holy land. You're gonna come from little Senegal, Gambia, Africa. Fly over here. You're gonna be good for a year. Then you're gonna see your white peers, your homeboys that you just met last year. They're doing this, that, and the third. You're gonna want to do it too. It it just depends on the integrity of the person and how well they can, abstain. Some people can do it better than others. Some people are not as capable. But at the end of the day, if you're able to recognize and switch course and get back, then you should be good. I think that applies to everybody for all faiths. If
Yeah.
you're able to, switch back, make that correction, start growing, because we talked about success before. It's up and down. So if you decide to keep on going up despite the downs, you should be good.
And because for me, I know in the Catholic in the Catholic religion, I wasn't very, I guess, into it and very faithful. Like a couple years ago, kind of did. I kind of like knew God was still there, but at the same time wasn't frequently thinking about it and praying and giving my grace. And ever since starting, you know, to realize that I need to change the self development journey, there's a little bit of faith that you gotta have in something, either Allah, God, or whatever it is that they believe in or you believe in. And just trusting that what you're going through is meant to happen and it's the course that you're gonna go to achieve whatever you gotta achieve. So I see how people can change, especially with things around us and especially for our age, 20-year-olds. It's like in the digital space where you see everything on social media, vices, sinful acts, and you just gotta be, on course on what you really want to do in life and what your faith is guiding you towards. So I could relate to that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I definitely think having some sort of religious or some sort of spiritual foundation. I spoke this with Christian on the phone podcast. You may not know who Christian is, old friend of ours. But more on that within the podcast. That's
Yeah.
on another podcast. But anyways, we spoke about having a spiritual foundation because it's very, very important to have some sort of spiritual guidance in your life so that it can dictate your actions, your thoughts, the things that you say, the people you associate yourself with, and the content that you consume, right? And it's all of the purpose of building yourself into a man of God, a soldier of God, because God does not, or Allah does not bless people who are lazy, who are greedy, who are lustful, who are sloths, who are gluttonous, etc. God does not reward those who are not meant to be rewarded. He will not reward the dude sitting on the couch eating a bag of Doritos, drinking some Mountain Dew, watching some anime. No, even though he does pray every night, oh, I wish I had $1 million. And then the next day he wakes up, beats his meat, and does like 2 push-ups, and then doesn't drink water for the whole day, just drinks soda and all that bull crap, and then just expects to make $100,000 at the end of the year. That's wrong. God only blesses those who work for the blessings, because the blessing, the prayer is simply an addition into your subconscious. It's like affirmations. You're saying this, you're saying that, you're saying this belief, and then God will obviously deliver that belief, that blessing, and make it into fruition because you're putting the action behind that prayer, right? And it's like God only works if you do. God doesn't work if you don't work, because what's the point, you know? And yeah, and so I was like that as well with Jose. Growing up in the Catholic household, I always would think that, man, like, what's the point of going to church, this and that? I have to wake up this early, this and that. And I never really understood the gravity of it until, of course, as I got older. So I think it's very important in this day and age, in this time right now, to have some sort of spiritual foundation, because there's so much degeneracy all over the planet, especially in the West, so much evil all around the West, and it's coming out. It's becoming more visible, with Lil Nas, with the whole Grammy introduction, the satanic Grammy dance or whatever. And like my coworkers were like, oh, you're that guy. It's like, I don't want my kids watching that shit,
It's
right?
art. It's
It's
art.
art.
See, he said, "Oh, you're that guy."
You're that guy. I'm like, yes, I'm that guy. Yeah, I don't want my kids watching this shit. I don't want my kids asking me what this is and what that is. I don't, of course, I don't want them to be blind to it, but I don't want them all that shit to be just being shoved down their
Corrupting.
throats, right?
At
And it's
a
like
young
it's just
age.
expression.
At a young age, especially, right? At a young age.
Yeah, young age, you're extremely impressionable. You absorb everything like it's a sponge. So it's very, very important. Like with all this puberty blocker stuff, with all this, like, bro, it's just, that's a whole nother podcast. But anyways, like
Yeah.
there's puberty blockers. There are people in power. I'm not even in power, but the pharmaceutical industry is pushing out these puberty blockers so that kids can now change their genders and do all this sort of stuff with their sexes, and like it's just a lot of
Yeah,
information.
we could talk about that another day.
Yeah.
And then whole
Oh,
another podcast. But
Yeah. But we can go
yeah.
ahead and let Med break his fast and continue the podcast. I know he has. It's
yeah, I'm about to go break
sundown.
it right now.
So Matt is about
All right, Matt.
Matt, we will see you later.
We'll see you later, champion.
All right, chamber members. Why am I disappearing from the? There you go.
There you go.
He started to
Sir.
fade away. Started to
I'm gonna
fade
start
away.
fading away.
Thanos.
No food. No food. Just fade
Thanos.
away.
This dude said Thanos.
All right, y'all.
Good food.
But yeah. But although it's a whole lot of information, it's like as you said, Jose, oh, it's just a way of expressing themselves. And I'm like,
It's art.
it's art. Yeah, let's twerk on the devil. Let's do some more satanic rituals in front of thousands of people. It's like, it's just a way if I express myself through the way of Satan. Nah, dog, that's it's there's a message behind it. It's deeper than what it's portrayed as on the surface. It's very dangerous stuff. And so
So do you think, is it possible for a person who does, I guess, condone that or doesn't care about that to think of it in a way where it's like not acceptable or can be saved from that way of thinking? Or are they just stuck in that, mindset of accepting everything in a sense, or seeing everything that's used to be,
I think it goes
sinful?
back to the book of Outwitting the Devil. I know Namdi read it or listened to it recently, and how people can become undrifters. But if you drift for so long, whatever emotion that you're constantly in, it's a habit. So if you drift for so long, you're gonna be you're gonna you're not gonna be able to become undrifter or undrifting. Remember the book said that like drifters will drift so long that they literally won't be able to see truth.
Escape it or
They
get
won't be
out
able
of
to,
it.
yeah, they won't be able to get out of it. In the book I was reading, like 2 days ago when I was reading it, it said happiness is a habit. It's literally a habit. So with that in mind, whenever you're sad or upset or depressed, you're making it harder for you to be happy long term. It's literally a habit. So if you made that a habit, then whatever that shows you, if happiness is a habit, then sadness can be a habit. So people get depressed, they're just habitually sad. Or anger could be a habit. People are just walking around pissed all the time. Uh, and yeah, I think
I agree.
it
I agree.
just
And
depends on how long they're in that state.
exactly. And to build off of that, what you're talking about was called hypnotic rhythm, is what was mentioned in the book. And hypnotic rhythm is something that nature undergoes because we all know that the universe has certain laws that it abides with. And one of the laws being the law of compensation, which is something that Ralph Waldo Emerson talked about, and is that anything that is sacrificed is something is gained, something that is lost, something is also found. So you're even if you sacrifice some time into doing work for a project, you're gaining something from that project. If I instead not wanted to go to that party to go and hang out with those people, I've lost the time to go and hang out with them, but instead gain the time to work on my business. So every hypnotic rhythm simply says, as Josh said, happiness is a habit, anger is a habit, sadness is a habit, etc. And it's hard for people to get out of it because they're in this hypnotic rhythm that every single day I'm entitled to this feeling because I've justified it in my head. I've justified depression. Why I don't need to go to physical therapy. I don't need to go work out. I don't need to drink more water. I'm depressed. Yes, you are, because you've said it multiple times to yourself. You've believed it. You've made it an identity within your consciousness, and your subconscious has said, okay, we're depressed. All right, let's think sad thoughts. Let's do sad things. Let's not hang out with people. That's what your subconscious is telling you. And so, yeah, and the book definitely talks about ways of escaping from that hypnotic rhythm and turning into a non-drifter. And it's very it's labels it in steps by being conscious with your time, being conscious with your thoughts, your habits, your actions, your beliefs, etc. And it's like it's a whole step-by-step process from the devil himself in the book that teaches you how to be a non-drifter so that you can escape from the grasp of the devil, right? And it's like the devil controls over 98%. In the book, it says the devil controls 98% of the populace, right? Through acts of drifting, such as not thinking for yourself, doing things in a way in which that it degrades your soul, it degrades your mind, it degrades the way of how you talk, and it just degrades your life in general. And the 2%, which are of course under the infinite intelligence, God, etc., the universe, those people think for themselves. They're able to talk in the way in which that it benefits their lives. They manifest things just like that, and it's all in a positive connotation. It's a very powerful book, and so I'm glad that you brought it up. So the hypnotic rhythm is a very, very important thing. Very, very important. If you don't know what hypnotic rhythm is, search it up, research it. It is things that we do every single day that we're not conscious of.
Damn. I need to get into onto that, man. I haven't finished it yet, but we'll definitely soon. But I also wanted to, I guess, point out, since Josh, you said that everybody's like, or both of y'all said, in a sense, it's like the entitlement that a person has, especially right now in society. People have some sort of narcissistic entitlement where anything bad that's happening to them, everybody has to feel the same way. And everybody has to acknowledge that. Instead of just owning up and being like, okay, I might be depressed and clinically depressed. I don't know. But at the same time, I cannot let this affect anybody else, because that's just being selfish to myself. And nobody else should just feel the same way how I feel, even though it sucks, but it's my thing that I have to overcome and acknowledge. So, in a sense, I see a big problem now is people are just too entitled to express their thoughts right now and think that everything revolves around them, even though at the end of the day, this much power given will just create more problems at the end of
Sure.
it.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
you a question about that then. If, let's say, an individual who is in a depressive state, is in a sad state, in an anger-based state, and they know it's doing absolutely no good for them, right? Let's say they do seek help. And in order to seek help, you have to branch, you have to talk, you have to communicate with that individual that you're seeking help from, right? And so it depends on who you're seeking communication from. Because if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm depressed, this and that," I'm gonna tell them, "Yo, you gotta suck it up." And not a lot of people would want to hear that, but that's the reality. You have to suck it up, wake up in the morning, get up and go drive to work, go get up and go work out, get up and go take that cold shower, even if you don't want to. Not a lot of people want to hear it like that. You know what I'm saying? And so what do you do in that position in which that, or how would you, I guess, create a scenario in which that, an individual who you've described as depressive, how would they come to another person and communicate their own issue or situation, because some people bottle it up and it gets worse without even them acting upon it. You know what I'm saying? So how would you go about that?
I mean, for me, I guess I was in a sense depressed at a time, but obviously I can't speak to an extent where a person who's truly been rock bottom and like I guess clinically depressed. But regarding with just communicating, I would just say this, or I would just explain it in a way where everybody feels what you feel and they've overcome it in a sense. Everybody at a point in time has felt down and depressed, but they somehow overcame it or they're still fighting it. And if you're able to relate to them in a sense where you understand his struggle, their struggle, and they understand your struggle, then y'all both can help each other out and understand, okay, somebody else is feeling like this and they're going about it in a better way than I am. Let me, continue talking to him, see how he goes, they go, and improve on my state of mind and try to help him out as well. You know? That's the best way I could think of it, just because you're not necessarily putting all the responsibility on other people in a sense. You're putting responsibility on yourself. Because then if you tell somebody, okay, let's keep in touch, I'm gonna help you out and you help me out, then you're gonna feel, somewhat responsible to help the other person out, and you yourself in turn will try to, present yourself and get out of that state of mind that you don't want to be in, the depressive, moody, or whatever mind.
Right.
And at the moment, that's just the best way I could think of it. I don't know if there's any
Yeah.
other points that you guys want to go in.
Yeah, I can expand on that. And it's kind of literally the exact same thing that I was going to say. And I think for the viewers at home, this is something I realized and something I heard on a podcast. If you really want to be a person that's mentally strong, has that mental fortitude, really all that means, and if you're going through it and you're sad, it's tough. It might be controversial to say, but you really honestly just have to suck it up and you have to be your own rescue in this world. That doesn't mean you can't talk to somebody, a mentor, a coach, or a best friend when you're feeling bad. But at the end of the day, you have to learn how to be your own rescue. Like you really have to learn how to fix it yourself. The people who are the most successful and the people who amass to the upper echelons of society, all of them realize how to be their own mom and dad from an early age. Like they literally know how to be their own mom and dad from an early age. They don't, the people who are babied too much, who are, whenever they had an issue or whenever they cried or when they had an issue and their parents fixed it for them real fast, that parent it might seem like they're helping them in that moment. When that kid gets to a certain age, you're really hurting that child. You have to learn how to be your own parent. You have to learn how to be your own rescue.
That's crazy that you say that, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's what they talk about in Outwitting the Devil too, with education as well as parenting. and how a lot of parents like to shield their kids from the world and like and help them in every way, sort in shape or form. But I feel like the primary goal of a parent is should have the kid to think for themselves and to not be compliant into all things that may come about in their lives. Same thing with education. Education says, here, learn this. We're gonna test it on this, and you have to pass or you fail. No, there's no thinking. There's only memorization. There's no introspective critical analysis. It's only memorization. And it should. And the book also said the students should be the teachers, while the teachers should be the students, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
yes, you should be your own superhero. You should be your own police officer. You should be your own rescuer. You should be your own last hope. You should be a version of yourself now, so that at any point in time in the future, all the things that you desire, all the places you want to go, the people you'll meet, it'll happen because you have turned yourself into a person in which that the universe will see that, oh, this person deserves all this shit that is coming, because he's turned himself into an individual in which that he is self-sufficient, independent, and all the things that he wants will come to him because he deserves it. But the previous version, the version 1, being as me, smoking weed, all that type of shit, doing absolutely nothing throughout this day, doesn't deserve all this. Is going to deserve all the shit that's going to come to him, such as he's going to be hanging out with people that are going to be smoking, that are going to be partying, doing degenerate based things. He's going to be broke. He's not going to be making as much money in his job. He's going to be depressed. He's going to be unmotivated to do things, etc. So you have to be your own rescuer. That is true. I agree with that, because you came out into this world alone and you will leave alone as well. So, and I've been saying that for the longest time, ever since freshman year, and that's something that I've just had in my mind. So it's always very important to be self-sufficient and to not rely or be codependent on anybody. And I mean, that depends. As men, you should be the one that people are depending on. As men, you should be the first person that people call when shit goes wrong, every time. That's why whenever shit goes wrong, we call a police officer. If the fucking fire is burning, we want to get a masculine man who's gonna walk in that fucking fire and save the kids that are in there. So I agree. I just wanted to branch that point out.
Be your own rescue.
Like how Pedro said, there's no knight on the white horse. That's what I remember now regarding with that topic.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta take yourself from the pits of darkness that you're in and just go one arm at a time, one leg at a time. Just keep going till you get
Exactly.
out.
Progression. So important. Doesn't matter where you want to go, who you want to be, how much money you want to make. As long as you're progressing every single day, you will get to that destination. Even if it's 10, 15, 30 minutes of deep work, it's better than 0 minutes. It's better than doing nothing. And some people may think, oh, I got to work out. I got to work 6 hours. But it's like that 6 hours, if you're just, you're half working, you're on your phones for 2-3 minutes, you're watching a game, you're watching something on YouTube, you're not actually working for that 6 hours. 1 hour of focused work is better than 6 hours of half-assed work. That person who's doing 1 hour of work per day versus the person who's doing 6 hours of half-assed work per day is going to achieve a lot more. So it's just how the world works. It's physics. I don't know much about physics, but I remember reading in Outwitting the Devil. It's simply just physics. It's the universe, and it's understanding that the universe knows that you want something really bad, that you will put an hour of your time to work to that thing. But if you're 6 hours in, you're 6 hours working, and you're talking to this one chick, like, yo, come through, this and that. I'm doing work. I'm doing work. Okay, you just wait till I'm done. Or your friend's like, yo, let's hang out, bro. They're like, oh, I'm working, bro. You're doing nothing, bro.
Don't even text. You shouldn't even be on your phone.
Your phone should be on the other side of the room. It should be out of sight, out of mind. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I have mine right here, but it's like it's behind the laptop. I don't see it. And so
Yeah, when you're done doing the hard work, you'd be like, "Where's my phone?" And you try finding it.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, you know what? I did all that hard work today. I'm gonna go and buy myself some candy. I'm gonna go get some Chick-fil-A, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself after doing some work, because at the end of the day, if you continue to do that, because that's what I used to do. I used to do all my chores. I used to do all my homework. I used to do all my studying. And then I can play video games and shit, or watch my anime or watch my movie. It's that positive reinforcement. You know what I mean? But if you just wake up and go get Chick-fil-A breakfast, what have you achieved? Nothing. You've achieved absolutely
Mhm.
nothing. And so that's
That's
something.
why
Yeah.
that's why we could say the first time when you first wake up, get an easy win. Or not even an easy win, get a win. Get something that, you feel accomplished. And, at the end of the day, if nothing else happens, you could just say, you know what? I completed this. I accomplished this in the morning. I did something to improve myself today.
Progression. It's all progression. That's something
Yeah.
that I always I'm just gonna keep in my mind for the rest of the time that I'm on this planet is progression. And progression can be negative or it can be positive, but I have to know that I'm positively progressing, because someone can negatively progress into something horrible. If you're for an individual who just got into doing coke, for an example, which just popped in my mind, because I was talking to a friend who went to the doctor and they found a lot of dry mucus in their nose, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you do a lot of coke, man. You got to stop." And so, if an individual starts doing coke, he does like, 0.1 gram here and there for a week, and then he goes into doing a gram per fucking week. He's down. He's going through that decline, that negative progression, and now his nose is going to be fucked up. It's not going to be able to smell properly, and it's going to be horrible. And that's what my friend is going through right now. He has to take antibiotics for his nose because he literally does like what did he tell me? He said he does like 6 grams per week or something like that of coke, which is a lot of coke. That's a lot of coke.
That's a
You
gram a
know,
day.
that's a day of coke. You have to trust me, bro. The magnitude of that is vast. Coke is a very dangerous drug, and if you're doing it in that copious amounts every week, you're gonna get a fucked up septum. Your nose is gonna fall off. It's horrible. But my point being is to positively progress, have some sort of goal, have some sort of conquest to look up to or look forward to every single day, and positively progress to it. Very important.
Yeah. Yeah, either making your bed in the morning or going to the gym, doing a quick, I guess, 5-5-5 workout when you wake up to get the energy up, reading a page a day. I don't know, getting that online business started little by little.
Coaches. Yeah.
Just, little things that you could over time improve. Like, for example, with your friend with the Coke. He's improving in a sense, but it's isn't a negative
manner.
isn't a negative matter. Like he used to probably only done 1 gram of Coke a week, probably. and
It's
then now
horrible.
he's doing 6. It's the same way you could correlate to that guy. You'd be like, you know what? I used to read 1 page a day, like a month ago. Now I could do 10 pages a day.
Bro. And I want to build up on what you're saying. When you have that habit, that positive habit, it opens up other doors for other positive habits. It's natural. That's how nature works. If I'm out here reading 10 pages a day, right? I'm like, you know what? Let me just listen to this podcast on the way to the gym or listen to it in the gym instead of just listening to music. It's another habit that arises because that's what happened to me. After reading, I'm like, you know what? I'm just listening to a podcast instead of listening to some like music or whatever when I'm working out.
Same
And it
here.
helps me. Yeah, I'm able to retain information more and all that sort of stuff. And so I want to just bring up a book. I'm reading the book right now. It's called The Compound Effect. Right. It's called The Compound Effect. This is one of the 2 books that I'm reading right now by Darren Hardy. And he talks about let me see, let me go to he has an equation, and it's called an equation called small smart choices plus consistency plus time equal radical difference. So if you're making small smart choices throughout your days every single day and you're consistent with it and you put a lot of time into it, you're going to get a radical difference in your life. So he goes into an example of the magic penny. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Would you rather get $3 million in cash right now, or would you have a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days?
I heard this question already. I know the
Yeah, low
pennies.
bias.
So the pennies, of course, but for small minded, not really small minded, but people who don't know the question, they'll be like, let me get that 3 mil right now, bro. The instant gratification people, instead of delayed gratification. By the end of the 31 days, you will end up with $10.7 million compared to the $3 million that the person took. right? And so this ties in with small wins. Jose, this is what you were saying. Small wins
Yeah.
will equate to a radical difference. If I'm doing stretching every day, if I'm foam rolling every day, if I'm praying every day, meditating, working out every day for 365 days, I'm going to see some sort of change. If I'm learning how to make better copy for a year, I will be better at the end of the year than how I was at the start of the year. I'll be making 5-figure worth copy versus the $50 copy that I started at in the year. So it ties in with everything. Working out, sports, relationships, school, education, jobs, etc. Very, very, it's a good point. That's a good point.
Josh, I don't know if you have something else to add before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
I mean, I could add something. I would say if I were speaking to my younger self or any teenager out there that's lost, anybody, it doesn't have to be a teenager, it could be 30 years old, whatever. If you were wanting to build that feeling of productivity, or you want to build a productivity mindset, I think a way to wrap everything up that we just said would be to start in small increments. You know, if you wanted to be super productive, you wouldn't go from doing nothing to adopting Elon Musk's schedule because you'll burn out. You're not at that place. It's like lifting weights. It's the easiest way. You're just now starting to lift weights. You're not gonna do it like the guy that's been doing it for 10 years and is a bodybuilder. You're not gonna do it like that. What you need to do is start in small increments and gradually progress in how much you're going to be doing that specific task or to be productive. So start off. If you absolutely not productive person, be real with yourself. Take inventory. If you're not a productive person, start small. Do whatever you want to do productive for an hour of day. Put your phone off to the side. And that might be really hard for you. But once that becomes easy, add on to that 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day. This is something that I've accidentally implemented, and now I'm able to work for basically the full day, and I won't even text anybody. I'll see the text. I can keep my phone next to me. I won't even text them because I like the work, even though work is kind of negatively connotated. I like the work. But if I were to say that to success, I like the success. I see it in real time. It's the shifting from the consumer to the producer mindset. And if I were to tell anybody, if they wanted to wonder how to build up to the point that which we speak, that's how I would give them that. That's the guideline I would give for them.
It's facts. I agree with that 100%. I did an hour and a half of deep work today. I wanted to do more, but it's like, I gave myself an hour and a half and it was very good work. And that ties in what you're saying. I was doing 20 emails a couple weeks ago and I kind of fell out on doing 20 emails per day. And so now I do 5 emails per day, but those emails are so filtered. They're made with purpose. Instead of copy paste, send. It's like, yo, this and that. Here's what I have. Boom, send it. It's very purposeful. And so yeah, does anyone else have anything else to say before we end up with this quote?
What was that, Neil or the astronaut? One small step for man, and then one giant leap for man, or something like mankind. It's the same thing.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
It kind of correlates. You gotta take one small step, one small step for man, and then one giant leap for mankind. And whatever you got going on, one small step, and then that small step is gonna go to a big leap.
And then those small steps are gonna turn into bigger and bigger leaps for bigger and better outcomes. And so so is that it? Is that everything?
Yeah, you could end it off of your quote.
So I got a new updated list of page of quotes. These are just from my own personal view. I try to read these every day, but this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. We talked about him earlier in this podcast. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. He is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities, but no doubt have crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely. With too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense, this new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on the yesterdays. It's a beautiful quote.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, man.
Beautiful quote. So always know that tomorrow is a new day. Do not allow today to dictate tomorrow. The only thing that should dictate tomorrow is the planning that you create for today. So
I mean, with that, champions, another great episode. Great knowledge given to whoever's watching, young, old, same age, whoever, you know. This isn't given, this knowledge isn't given to the public, you know. A lot of people have to find it out, and the person who does find it, use it for your own life and get after it. And champions, that concludes the meeting. Let's go, man. We'll catch y'all next week on a new episode. Get ready. You know, every episode is a banger. Champions out.